So after the new dark support, we...
I see it. I see everything.
On the last champion roadmap from September 2021, Riot Rift dropped a hint towards the next champion to be released after Zeri and Renata, saying, quote, "Our next update will be at the start of next year, where we'll have a lot to share, including more details on the new villainous support, the next VGU planned after Udyr, as well as an overwhelming new jungler that should fill a void in all your hearts," suggesting that we would finally be getting a new Void champion. The last Void champion we got was Kaisa in 2018, and the last Monster Void champion was Rek'Sai in 2014. I mention Monster because it's relevant. In a dev post from May of last year, Riv explained why Monster champions are released less often than human or humanoid champions. In this post, he also said, "We have plans to make a new creature champion in 2022, since it's been a while, the last one being Yuumi. While it made sense to make a cute creature like Yuumi, since the game was lacking in cute creatures, we want the next one to be on the darker side. This doesn't mean we'll do a full creature every year, as they are pretty niche, but we do want to make more non-human champions going forward." It's very possible that he was referring to the upcoming Void champion when he said this. Recently, we've been getting a lot of new lore that mentions the Void. We got Bard's Color Story, released in September, Testimony of the Balladeer. In it, a man tells a tale of Bard, called The Bells, describing the emergence of the Void, how it split the Bell into fragments across the world, and that collecting these fragments would help fight back the Void somehow. It seems that, like Aurelion Sol and other celestial beings, Bard has a special power to fight the Void, and whatever that is, it's related to the chimes that he collects. In November of last year, we got Feast of the Prophet, a story featuring Malzahar. In this story, a man called Mir finds himself among a group of cultists of the Void. On that day, the prophet Malzahar delivers a sermon for the cult, in a place they call the Nameless City, in the southeast of Shurima near Ekathia. As Malzahar begins his sermon, saying he has a confession to make, he notices Mir among the group and inflicts him with terrible visions. An enormous shape looming behind the prophet and filling the entire night sky, buildings, or something like buildings, but inverted and crooked beneath a vast unnatural ocean. Thousands of voracious creatures swimming in schools so large they block even the dappled light from the North sun, creating their own currents in the North water. A name that dances across the grooves of his brain like an acrobat, elusive but on the edge of realization. Wings, spiders the size of wolves, a figure floating beneath Shurima, a confrontation. He sees Noxus consumed by an impossible wave of creatures, the immortal bastion cracking grotesquely before falling into their mass, ice breaking, things tumbling upwards and out. He sees Malzahar again, shadowed by a shape too large. Why is it so large? Why is she? The shape looms larger. It's not physical, no, but Mir's mind holds desperately onto anything it can, something to anchor itself and escape the prophet's suffocating weight. Meanwhile, Malzahar begins his sermon.
Believers, I have always told you that the end is certain. The Void will come and wash away the world and all its miseries, and with it each and every one of you. But we are all changed by our experiences, are we not? I watch my parents die in Amakra, waste away to illness, yet they are not gone. Their memories serve a purpose. And the imprint they left on me made me what I am, and what I am made you. The Void has tasted these memories, and it wants more. The Void embraced a new form, a new possibility. I once saw the world end in the absence of light and darkness, the totality of nothing, and that was wrong. So tonight, to you, to all my children, I confess, the Void has spoken, and now, beneath her sea of lavender, she wants you. Your memories, your experiences, existence. She wants everything, and she will have it.
It seems that the Void now wants to consume memories and experiences and not just consume everything until oblivion. As Malzahar says, that was wrong. This giant Void creature, referred to with female pronouns, is obviously who Rift mentioned in the video Champions in Season 22. He calls her Empress and mentions how she rules over the purple cities that cover the land, meaning that this Void creature is likely higher in whatever kind of hierarchy might the Void creatures have. He says that the city of Belveth will be the first to fall. This is the first time we've heard of this city, so there's no telling where it is located on the map. However, it is likely in Shurima. There are many uses of sea and fish terms. Both Riv and Malzahar mention a lavender sea, mirror as visions of void creatures swimming in schools in an unnatural ocean on currents of not water, and the teaser image for the champion features some fish like void beings. Riv says beautiful remora, swimming endlessly through cities of lavender. Remora are types of fish that attach themselves to sharks and other large marine animals. It's possible that remora is the name of the new champion, since it's capitalized in the captions of the video, even in other languages. The fact that these are animals that attach themselves to other animals might also be part of the champion's theme. Years ago, we got a Nami comic where she encounters the void underwater. Would be cool if they tied these to the new champion. It's also important to note that Mir got visions of a confrontation in Shurima, the immortal Bastion getting attacked by the void and ice breaking with things tumbling upward and out. Shurima and Freljord have their own histories with the void, but it's unclear why Noxus is mentioned. Perhaps this was done to give a sense of the scale of what's to come, like seeing many regions getting attacked by the Ruin King in the Ruination cinematic. In December of last year, we got Dead of Winter. This Freljord story isn't about the Watchers or the Void, but we get the return of Krieg. The blind shaman known as Legless Krieg first appeared in Ornn's Scholar story, The Voice from the Hearth. In it, he convinced his war mother to travel to the half-mountain of Old Ornn, telling her it was their only way to survive the Winter's Claw and the Xer'Sai. There, they actually managed to find Ornn, who aided them. In Dead of Winter, Krieg tells the following to Sejuani: "We are all one tribe, and it is long past the time you understood that. You think too small, like a fighter, only seeing the foe in front of them. You must think like a war mother, like a queen. There is a season for fighting, a season for leading, and one for dying. But a time is coming when the sons and daughters of the Freljord must stand together, or you will all die, one by one. And the first step on that road is staying alive. Tell me you hear me, daughter of Kalkia." It's very likely that he is talking about the Watchers breaking free from their prison. The last time the tribes of the Freljord fought together side by side was to seal them. In Dead of Winter, he mentions how he drank from the great cauldron of Ornn, explaining how it was the key to his survival despite not being fed for quite some time. He convinces Sejuani to retrieve it from the Lost Ones, the Xer'Sai, who themselves stole it from Ornn. With it, she would be able to feed her tribe. This is what we see happening in the Call cinematic, Sejuani and the members of the Winter's Claw fighting the Xer'Sai to retrieve the Great Cauldron of Ornn. In some concept art for the cinematic, we actually see them fighting Volibear himself. It's curious to note that Ornn also appeared in the cinematic. In one of Ornn's tales, the three sisters of Freljord convinced Ornn to dig up a huge hole so they could lure the Watchers to it. After doing so, they convinced him to build a bridge using something they called star metal. Ornn agreed, but demanding the remaining star metal as payment. According to the tale, the bridge was built using only this material, and after Ornn finished, the three sisters used some kind of spell on it, sealing the Watchers beneath it. In the Call, we did see Ornn forge a sword. We also see various asteroid-like objects falling from the top of Mount Targon. Perhaps these comets are filled with this star metal, and if the star metal is celestial in origin, it can be used against the void. And who else but the great Forge Ornn to forge such weapons? However, this is just speculation on my part and likely not the case, but I still felt like it was worth mentioning that Ornn indirectly helped sealing the Watchers. In December, we also got the story The Faceless God. It isn't that important, but on it we learn about the city of Zolan, somewhere near the north of Saikalik in Shurima. In this city, there is a huge statue of Zolani, a Shuriman ascended. Menes, the protagonist of the story, mentions that Zolani was a healer, said to have fought during the Void War of Icathia. However, little was known of her fate afterwards. In current times, the people of Zolan believe the city to be protected by the God Warrior. Her statue's face was destroyed long ago, but the people believe restoring it will bring them great blessings, causing many sculptors to speculate on what it once looked like. In the story, Menes goes to the lake of the city, surprised to see it's dried out. On where the lake once was, he finds the face of the statue. In a cruel twist, when this happens, the center of the lake opens up and void creatures emerge from it. And this leads up to Holospan. released in January of this year on the same day as the Call cinematic. As with the previous stories, I will focus on the relevant parts. Kaisa finds a void tunnel unlike any other. Instead of a random path, it was a straight line going north. It seemed made with intention, with a goal. In the tunnel, she finds strange void creatures she has never seen before, which she calls lamplights, described as having smooth, rounded bodies and mouths filled with translucent, needle-like teeth jutting out at dangerous angles. From it, something like a tongue emerges, which emits a soft bluish light. Kaisa fights these creatures and is aided by Talia, who she met for the first time during the fight. Talia then brings Kaisa to her camp. In this camp, several characters from Talia's cards like Samir, Zypha and Kadira are present. These can also be seen on Rek'Sai's cards. Kadira talks about Zolan, saying how it's a magical protected place. Zolan is where they are headed towards. Kaisa warns them of the Xer'Sai that live close to Sai-Kalik and tells them not to go. Talia is aware of this, but is still going to help the people get there, so Kaisa leaves them and returns to the tunnel to figure out why it was made. In the tunnel, she finds colors, the lamplights and some hatchlings. A lamplight extends its tongue and touches a hatchling's horn, making it glow with bluish light. This seems to be happening to other hatchlings and colors. Then a Dunebreaker appears and fights the lamplights. For some reason, void creatures are fighting each other. Skipping ahead in the story, the Dunebreaker kills the other void creatures and leaves. Kaisa and Talia meet again, and Kaisa convinces her that it's too dangerous to lead the people to Zolan, because she figured out that that's where the tunnel leads. Talia agrees, but joins Kaisa in her fight against the Void in Zolan. The rest of Talia's group decide to go to a former trade city. Samir's card mentions that the group is traveling to Nashrameh, meaning this is likely the trade city mentioned in the story. And this leads directly into the Call cinematic, where we see Kaisa and Talia fighting the Xer'Sai in Zolan, in front of the faceless statue of Zolani. There, Kaisa lures Rek'Sai down a void tunnel, and Talia seals it with the statue. The biggest mysteries in all of these are: why did the void creatures make a tunnel straight to Zolan? What's special about this city? What are the lamplights? What is this blue energy that they have that changes other void creatures? And why do some void creatures don't want this to happen? The only instance of blue void creatures we've ever gotten was in the Freljord, so I wonder if this has something to do with the Watchers. The lamplight's tongue was perhaps not a tongue but a tentacle. It still doesn't explain why the Dunebreaker would attack them. Could the Dunebreaker be doing this for Remora, the new champion, or perhaps against her? Is Remora against or on the side of the Watchers? From the Call, all segments were somehow tied to the Void event, except the Ornn and Targon parts. These are only connected through theories at the moment, and I think I've speculated enough about them. For now, I'm sure we'll get more context eventually. Even Pantheon's story, which was supposed to come out before the cinematic, doesn't really link it to the Void in any way we know at the moment, but it does give us some context on why Pantheon decided to return to Targon. Moving on, if you remember, I made a video where I speculated that the next region to be revealed for lore was the Void. Obviously, I was wrong. The newer and last region is Battle City, but if you look at the current champion roster, there's only one Void champion, Rek'Sai, with some Canon, Zillion and Lysandra cards featuring Void creatures. I wish the next expansion introduced the Void region and double region Void cards, but as I said, Battle City is the last region. This was confirmed by Jeff Jew in a dev video from lore from last year.
But I suspect you're also wondering about the next set and final region to join Lore in August, so let's get after it. We're going to Vandal City!
Still, in the same video, it is also mentioned that both Ixtal and Void champions will eventually come to Lore, just as part of the in-game regions that most fit them, like Rek'Sai or Malphite.
Now, just because this is the final region, doesn't mean that your favorite champions from Ixtal, the Void, or other parts of Runeterra aren't coming to Lore. It just means that when they do, they'll rep the existing in-game region that makes the most sense for them.
Also keep in mind that the next lore expansion is on this month, February, but I doubt we'll see Void champions so soon, with Renata not even being released yet. Not to mention that we sort of already know that the missing champions are Gnar and Udyr. In the same video, it's also confirmed that multi-game events and champion releases like Sentinels of Light will continue to be a thing, meaning that if a Void event happens for League, it might also come to Lore.
This marks the very first time Riot has launched an event and a new champion across multiple games at the same time. a huge step up for both Riot and Legends of Runeterra. If you're enjoying it, then stay tuned. We hope to bring you more events like this in the future.
As Rioters mentioned in the article looking back on Sentinels of Light from December last year, lore events in League of Legends are not dead, and these events are likely to branch out into all Riot products, similarly to the Sentinels of Light and Riot Xer'Sai events. I would be surprised if we didn't get at least one new Void champion in lore like Kaisa, Malzahar or Remora. After so many shirtless men and cute girls, I'm excited to finally see an older woman and a new monster champion in League of Legends, especially knowing that Jared Rosen is the one riding the ladder. I just hope that, once again, they don't give a niche gameplay to a character whose design is already niche, because we all know how that turns out.